Good morning and welcome to our April breakfast meeting. I wish everyone a happy Easter if you recognize it, and I hope you had a happy Passover if you celebrated it. I'm certain you had a wonderful Holi if you partake in the Hindu Festival of Colors. Otherwise, I just hope you are having a fabulous weekend. Spring is a time of rebirth, and as most of us have been, or are on the path to getting vaccinated against COVID-19, we're going to start stretching our legs and getting back to life as normal, whatever normal means in these crazy days. We welcome attendees from other counties. We recognize that we're all in this fight together for a better South Carolina and hope you take back some information and ideas to your county Democratic Party and ask that you share some ideas with us after this meeting. Together, we're stronger. We also welcome any elected officials and military service members, whether active or retired, and sincerely express our gratitude for your service. As with previous breakfast meetings, please leave us comments on Facebook Live and in the Zoom chat window. Let us know you're here and interact with those who are watching with you. We have an agenda full of timely and inspirational information. After some opening remarks from myself, we'll speak with Mary Woodowis, who has been a stalwart of community betterment here in Greenwood. We'll finish an interview we started last month with May Kung, our second vice chair, about immigration. Denise Waldrop will grace us with another summary of the critical and sometimes puzzling legislation being debated and passed in Columbia. Our last interview will be with Dr. Kimberly Richburg, a professor of political science at Lander, and she'll talk about the 2020 election and other topics. I'll conclude with some updates about the Greenwood County Democratic Party, what's been accomplished in the last month, and what we've got planned for April. Finally, I'll open the lines for those who are on Zoom and allow for some open dialogue. Probably the biggest piece of news in the past month was the passing into law of the American Rescue Plan Act. It very well may have been President Joe Biden's defining moment, taking what he saw as the single highest priority item and getting it done. I would like to call out Representative Tim Ryan of Ohio as he tears into some of his colleagues during the debate on this plan.
Mr. Speaker, one of the earlier speakers said, "This is the most dramatic change in labor law in 80 years." And I say, thank God. In the late 70s, a CEO made 35 times the worker. Today, it's 300 to 400 times the worker. And our friends on the other side running around with their hair on fire. Heaven forbid we pass something that's going to help the damn workers in the United States of America. Heaven forbid we tilt the balance that has been going in the wrong direction for 50 years. We talk about pensions, you complain. We talk about the minimum wage increase, you complain. We talk about giving them the right to organize, you complain. But if we were passing a tax cut here, you'd be all getting in line to vote yes for it. Now stop talking about Dr. Seuss and start working with us on behalf of the American workers. I yield back the balance of my time.
The gentleman yields back. The gentleman is reminded.
I started a new thing recently called Monday Musings, where I record a short video, just a few minutes, to share what's on my mind. Every Monday, I post it on YouTube, our website, which has a new videos section, by the way, and on all of our social media accounts. I would like to share last Monday's entry as it sets the theme for today. Now, it's nowhere near as passionate as Representative Ryan's speech, but it's got a couple of points that I think is important for us to hear. Hi, I'm Bill, and I'm the chair of the Greenwood County Democratic Party. These are my Monday musings for March 29th. Last week I covered a relatively light-hearted topic, but today I'm in the mood to get real with you. I want to talk about priorities. You prioritize the things that are most important to you. You admit there's just too much to do, so you draw a line and say, if I do nothing else, then I'm going to get these things done. How you prioritize says a lot about you. It reveals a lot about your character. President Joe Biden has said that dealing with the pandemic was his top priority, that nothing else can happen successfully unless that is taken care of properly. And in my view, now that he's doubled his vaccinations goal and the success of the wildly popular American Rescue Plan Act, well, that tells me what I need to know about Joe. Last week, South Carolina Senator Mike Fanning posted a powerful and frightening recap of the priorities of the Republican-dominated legislature in Columbia. They took a look at all the issues facing South Carolinians and chose not tax reform, not term limits, not taking care of veterans and the military, not road improvement, not teacher pay or class size. Nope. They had put first as high priority legislation and debate over regulating women's bodies, which was quickly slapped away by the federal courts, as we all knew it would. They have prioritized an attack on transgender youth. And was this really a problem facing South Carolina? They worked to ensure that we can walk around with our weapons on full display against the pleading of law enforcement and community leaders not to go down this path. And most recently, they chose special order to take up the issue of whether public schools should be required to include private school students on their sports teams. Look, if you're not carefully weighing your priorities, then you're wasting our time. And that, my friends, is what the Republican legislators have done. So let me then share with you the priorities of the Greenwood County Democratic Party. There are many things on our to-do list: candidate recruitment, voter registration, addressing any of a number of large social issues that we Democrats are known to fight for. And while we indeed need to try to make progress on all of these, there are two that I see we have to get done, because if we don't, then everything else becomes so much more difficult to do. First, Precinct Organization. There are 50 voting precincts in Greenwood County, and we have to have an organized network of activists and communicators across all 50. If we cannot build this network, then we cannot support our candidates effectively, get the word out about state and county legislation that affects us, or conduct meaningful voter registration drives. If you're watching this, then I already know you have what it takes to join in this effort. Reach out to us and say, what can I do? We'll work and grow with you every step of the way. I believe in the Stacey Abrams approach, that it's not going to happen this month, this summer, this year, or even the next, but I do see us flipping SC blue over the next 10 years. But it has to start now. The second priority is to fight for voting rights and access. Look, we could field Barack Obama himself to run for a local office, but if they keep restricting how people are allowed to vote, putting them through a more rigorous process than what is needed to acquire a gun, then it won't matter. We see what's happening in Georgia, and in many ways, South Carolina is already there. We need to raise awareness of how our voting rights are being eroded, provide specific actions to help ensure Congress enacts H.R. 1, the For the People Act, and make sure that the people's voice indeed can be heard. Well, that's it for today's Monday Musings. Do you think we've got our priorities straight? Let me know. And thank you for listening. I hope you agree that these are indeed our top two priorities. Let's talk about voting rights first. Just in the past 2 weeks, Republican-led state legislators in Georgia and Texas have cracked down on voting rights and access in the name of election security, a problem that doesn't exist except in the minds of the paranoid, fact-free, delusional conspiracy theorists, and that's just the former president. Again, I'm going to step aside and let a pair of individuals talk who are much better equipped to speak on this subject. Senator Raphael Warnock and Stacey Abrams of Georgia.
We are witnessing right now a massive and unabashed assault on voting rights unlike anything we've ever seen since the Jim Crow era. Mr. President, I rise here today as a proud American and as one of the newest members of the Senate in awe of the journey that has brought me to these hallowed halls. A vote, a voice, a chance to help determine the direction of the country and one's own destiny within it, possibility born of democracy. That's why this past November and January, my mom and other citizens of Georgia grabbed hold of that possibility and turned out in record numbers, 5 million in November, 4.4 million in January, far more than ever in our state's history. Turnout for a typical runoff doubled. But then what happened? Some politicians did not approve of the choice made by the majority of voters in a hard-fought election in which each side got the chance to make its case to the voters. And rather than adjusting their agenda, rather than changing their message, they are busy trying to change the rules. We are witnessing right now a massive and unabashed assault on voting rights unlike anything we've ever seen since the Jim Crow era. This is Jim Crow in new clothes. Since the January election, some 250 voter suppression bills have been introduced by state legislatures all across the country, from Georgia to Arizona, from New Hampshire to Florida, using the big lie of voter fraud as a pretext for voter suppression.
And that's the fundamental premise of democracy. Not that we get everything we want, but that we deserve to have a say in the direction of our nation, in the direction of our states, and in the direction of our communities. And when democracy is undermined by laws that we have seen passed not only in Georgia, but in Iowa, and laws that are under consideration in Arizona, in Texas, in New Hampshire, in Florida. In 43 states across this country, we are seeing an onslaught, an attack on democracy. And there was one Arizona representative who actually explained it. Essentially, he said that they don't want every vote to count. They don't believe that quantity matters, that it's about the quality of the vote. Well, my question is, how do you qualify the utility of a vote? I believe that citizenship in the United States of America is a premise that we must stand on, and it says that we have the right to be heard. We are going to lose some of the elections we want to win, and we're going to win some of the elections we never thought could be true. But we are always, always as a nation stronger when every voice is included. And that is why this work is so critical. In-person early voting says to Americans who have to work on a schedule that isn't based on an agrarian economy from the 18th century that their voices matter. It says to that mom working that third shift that if she can get some time off to go and cast her ballot, she might be able to move herself out of minimum wage into a full-time job that pays her enough to live a good life for her and her family. It says to that person who is a frontline worker who doesn't know when they're going to be on call, that if they can cast their ballot, there may be relief on the other side.
We'll have more to say and do on this subject over the course of the year, and we'll share it in our email newsletter, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, in-person events, wherever we gather. We need to be talking about and educating ourselves about voting rights and where they are under attack. To help combat this most serious of problems and other issues we need to be fighting for, we have to be organized and ready to mobilize. We've done our best to keep the party going over this past year, and in many ways expanding it into territories never before dreamed of, but I fear that we've lost some ground in our network of fellow Democrats. Take a look at this photo from the 2018 Carnell Drummond dinner. It's packed, wall to wall, with Greenwood Democrats, looking fine, I might add. But how many people in this picture from 2018 are even aware of what's been happening with the Greenwood Democrats in the past year or two? I venture to say that many of them aren't on the internet. Many don't have an email address, let alone know what Zoom is. In a technically connected world, we've become disconnected with many rank and file true blue Democrats. This is why Precinct Organization is so important. Imagine 50 puzzle pieces of Greenwood County, each with their own Democratic leader helping organize, helping spread the word, helping create local events, reaching those people that we're not reaching today. Notice the emphasis I placed on help. We need your help. And in turn, we will help you succeed. You don't need experience. You don't need a ton of free time. We're not asking anyone to take on a part-time job as a Democratic organizer. But imagine if we can get 50 strategically placed individuals throughout our county who are prepped and ready to mobilize as needed, then indeed we will be positioned to take on any threats to our voting rights and elect those that will do good in our state and county. I've begun a rather large endeavor to reach out to at least 10 good Democrats in each voting precinct. That's 500 people in the next 6 months. This will likely include you. I am reaching out first by mail, then I'll be following up with a phone call. My hope is that 1 out of the 10 I contact in a voting precinct will answer the call to volunteer. I will be holding the first of a number of informational sessions about Precinct Organization next Saturday, April 10th at 10 a.m. You don't need to wait for an invite from me to step up. You can attend this meeting or just call me directly. Not now, after the meeting is over. I'll take that call and start to put you onto the path that I know will lead us all to eventual victory. To those of you who have been working with the Greenwood Democrats all along, there's no amount of thanks we can ever offer that will do it justice. We just now need more of you in every corner of our great county. So let's turn it over to our speakers. who were generous with their time. First up is someone who is the very definition of organizing and executing for the betterment of Greenwood County.